Hello, students. So before you get back to work on your ECR today, let's make sure that we have all the pieces that we need. So this is the ECR that we have been working on. It says, read mother to son. Based on the information in the text, write a response to the following. Describe how the poet has described the mother's life using metaphor. Write a well-organized composition that uses specific evidence from the text to support your answer. And here is the poem that we are writing about. Let's reread it just so it is very fresh in our mind. Mother to son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I's have been a climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you turn back. Don't you set down on the steps 'cause you find it kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I's is still going, honey. I's is still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. So we need to write an extended essay response about how the poet is using the mother's life using metaphor. So remember, when we are writing these ECRs, we are using ACEs. So that means that we answer the prompt, we cite and explain our evidence, and then we summarize the answer at the bottom. This is like an essay sandwich, right? Because the answer is our bread. We start with the answer and we end with the answer. And all the meaty stuff, our transitions, our text evidence, our explanations go in the middle. So as we are working on these extended essay responses today, these are the things that we are checking for. We're going to look to see if we have a hook at the very beginning of our essay. Do we have a little one-sentence summary just to give some background to our reader? Do we have a clear answer? The speaker uses a metaphor to describe her life as what? Are there transitions? For example, also in conclusion, these little phrases that start each new paragraph. Is the essay divided into paragraphs? You should have 4 paragraphs, an introduction, 2 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Is there text evidence? You should have 2 quotes. Each quote will get its own body paragraph. Do you explain the text evidence? Why is that quote there? What does the quote mean? And is there a conclusion at the end where you restate the answer? So let's go through how one of these might look. If you already have your ECR written, you're going to follow along because we are going to be finding specific things in the ECR. So our first paragraph is our introduction. The introduction should have 2 things in it. A 1-sentence summary to be our hook and the answer. This is the most important part. If you don't have an answer, you get a 0 on the rubric. Here's the one that I wrote. In the poem, Mother to Son by Langston Hughes, portrays a mother recounting her life, her struggles, and advice to her son. That's my 1-sentence summary. This speaker uses the metaphor of a crumbling staircase to describe her life as dangerous and uncomfortable. That is my answer. Look at your ECR draft. Do you have an answer in your introduction paragraph? Make sure that you do. Paragraph 2 is going to be a body paragraph. That means that we need to cite and explain our evidence. So there should be a transition. Transitions are words that tell the reader we are starting a body paragraph. So things like, for example, for instance, or firstly. We're going to quote the poem and then explain the quote. Here's how I did it. For example, in line 5, she says that her life has, quote, boards torn up, quote. A staircase with missing boards is dangerous, so we can conclude her life has also been dangerous. So I have my transition, I quote the poem, and then I explain what that quote means. Paragraph 3, we're going to do this again. It's another body paragraph, so we're going to give a new transition. Also, additionally, secondly, similarly, however, on the other hand, we're going to use a transition. We're going to quote another part of the poem and explain it. Here's how I did it. Similarly, in lines 6 and 7, she says that there were parts with, quote, no carpet on the floor, bare, quote. Carpet makes the stairs more luxurious and fancy. Her life, however, has been bare, implying that she has had a lack of comfort. So look at your body paragraphs. Do you have these transitions? Do you quote the poem? Do you explain what those quotes mean? Our last paragraph is the conclusion. For this one, we have a new transition, something like in conclusion, all in all, as you can see, and then we just sum up the answer. So the same answer from the beginning, but in new words. Here's how I did it. In conclusion, the speaker in this poem uses the metaphor of the stairs to show how her life has been full of hardship. Still, she never gave up, and she doesn't want her son to give up either. So you're going to take some time today. You're going to finish writing your ECR, and you're going to make sure that it has all of these parts in it. So here are the instructions. You're going to go into the ECR and you're going to make sure that you have the answer, that you have the transitions, the text evidence, and the explanations. When this is ready to turn in, when this is finished and you've turned it in, you're going to go onto quill.org and you're going to do one of our grammar lessons on quill.org.